Have you ever noticed that the things we avoid the most are often the very things creating the most stress in our lives? Maybe it's opening the bank statement, answering the phone when a creditor's calling, looking at your retirement savings, or admitting that your family's financial future isn't where you hoped it would be. If that sounds familiar, you're certainly not alone. And if you're raising or have raised a child struggling with mental health or addiction, you know that survival often comes before financial planning. When you're in crisis, you're simply trying to get through the day. Welcome back to Turn the Lens Inward. I'm Lisa Taylor, and I help women and parents navigating difficult seasons. Turn the lens inward so they can find more peace, confidence, and freedom, one intentional step at a time. Today, I'm joined by my own financial advisor, Jeanette MacIntosh. She has completely changed the way that I think about money. And in this conversation, we're talking about something we rarely discuss openly: the financial toll that family crisis can take, why so many of us avoid our finances, and how one small step today can completely change your future. By the end of the episode, I hope that you'll realize financial planning isn't really about money. It's about creating peace of mind, protecting the people you love, and giving yourself choices when life doesn't go according to plan. So let's get into the episode. Welcome back to Turn the Lens Inward. And today I'm so excited. I have my personal financial advisor, Jeanette MacIntosh, with us today. Hey, Jeanette.
Hi, Lisa. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
I think this is going to be a really powerful conversation today. When I came up with the idea, I had been listening to a podcast about money. And what I thought about was people, myself included, who avoid looking at their finances find themselves in a situation where it doesn't look very good. The future doesn't look very bright financially. And I think it's probably one of the hardest conversations for people to have out loud, to bring it out into the forefront, into reality, and say, yes, I need help with my finances. I've been avoiding it. I've been making mistakes. And specifically, the parents who are listening to this podcast who have been dealing with teenagers or young adults with mental health or addiction issues, and really have not had the time, the capacity to deal with creating a really solid financial house like you have taught me to do. So I met Jeanette in 2020, and I'd love for you to tell our listeners a little bit about your personal story and how we are here today.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, we came from South Africa 7 years ago now, and it was on my husband's business. So he just slotted in and away he went, doing exactly the same as he had been. And I was a business owner in South Africa with a teaching background. I found scrapbooking and I opened my own business and ran that for 20 years. It was amazing. I was completely fulfilled, creative environment, my own, working for myself. And the very sad thing was that I didn't understand how money works. And that sounds crazy, running your business. But I came to Canada and lost one of my jobs during COVID, which was not traumatic. It was a terrible job that I just took for the interim. And I happened to go on a networking lunch to actually find people who wanted to learn scrapbooking with me. And I ran across two fantastic people that introduced me to Primerica. And we needed investments and insurance. We needed to take our finances in hand in Canada. Things are so different to South Africa. And we met a wonderful couple and they introduced us to how money works, education in the financial arena. And my husband and I were blown away. Nobody had ever spoken to us on that level. So we got a financial education in Canada that we needed in South Africa. And I loved it because I just thought of all the immigrants that come to Canada and nobody knows what to do with their money. And at the same time, I could help Canadians that also had never been taught in school how money works. So we're here today. You were one of my first ladies I found on Facebook because nobody could go out in COVID.
Yes.
and you were so great on social media and we connected.
Yes.
So I've been doing this for 5 years now, and very, very blessed to have money growing for us in a good place and life insurance, the right kind. So yeah, everything's great in the financial arena now for us in Canada.
Fantastic. I love it. So grateful to have you in my life. You have really helped turn things around for me. And I want to give back to the listeners who might be also in a situation where financially things aren't looking great. Because when you're dealing with your children, that's at the forefront. And there's so many things that you're not paying attention to. It's just not of importance because they might still be working, they're still getting a paycheck, they're still making their mortgage payments. But today in 2026, things are getting worse. The cost of living is getting more increasing, inflation is increasing, gas prices. I mean, we can talk about that all over North America and probably the world at the moment. So let's say you have this family and they have a child who's, let's say, ill. What happens to their finances? Like, what can happen to their finances that you've seen as an educator, a financial educator? Quick interruption. 92% of you aren't subscribed. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you being here. If you'd hit follow or subscribe, it genuinely helps more than you think. That's what grows a podcast and gets it in front of the parents who need it most. Okay, let's get back to it.
Lisa, the hard part is the reaction people have and how they have to come together for the child. Everything revolves around the child. So families might stop work. They've got to be with them. And financially, a family can be so hard done by because they revolving everything around that young person that needs the help right now. We haven't seen too many families, myself, go into the problem, but we've seen a lot of people that are living with the problem, that they have given up their RRSPs and their TFSAs, they've cashed in everything. So it's really financially devastating for them if the parents are already like later in life, early 50s, late 40s, that everything they saved to that point is now gone.
Uh-huh.
They've had to give up their jobs and everything to look after the children. So before people do that, I would highly recommend that they speak to a professional and get some advice, not to just head into it on their own. You're not thinking clearly when that's happening in your family, and an outsider can really, really be of assistance to you. The child might even be at the point that they've got the disability doctor's certificate that they can get a disability pension going forward. So there's some financial things that families don't even know about that, there's products out there that we can help families. So I would say to you, don't rush into quick decisions on I'm leaving my job, I'm giving everything up, I'm there. But I would say find a financial person that can help you. And you know how fantastic our company is with doing what's right for families and listening and no judgment and, coming to the fore and sitting down, building a plan for you, a strategy.
Yes. You have a process to build a plan, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, with every family we sit down, we never come to the table with products at all until we've done a financial needs analysis with the family. So that's looking at the entire financial picture of that family, whether the person's 18 with the first paycheck or 90, that they preparing their probate and things like if their estate's going to need some planning. But the financial needs analysis is like a GPS, a financial GPS that takes you from where you are to where you need to go to your retirement date or where you are in your life at that moment. But always a plan, down the road plan. And that is amazing. That's what blew Daryl and I away with Primerica, because Nobody had ever done that for us. It's complimentary. They don't even charge to do it. It's like 20 pages of personal information on your finance picture. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm still in the, forefront of updating clients with it every year. So it's not something you get today and you never look at it again. You're actually on a journey with us. And we always go back and review it and see where we can improve, where things can change a little bit. And that where a child suddenly, has a mental illness and the family is caught off guard. We would love to be prepared with the family before that they've got their financial needs analysis before the struggles happen. But if this is where the family is right now, I would definitely say get the financial advice before you make plans for yourself.
I wish I had have talked to you before I left my work in 2017 and spent my pension and lived off the pension and made all of those errors, but did them based on more reaction versus being proactive and thinking, well, it's okay. I'm still in my 40s and I don't have anything to worry about. I went from having this six-figure, really great sales career to being off, dealing with my daughter on a daily basis, being in crisis, and needing to be in the home in order to make sure that she was going to be okay. That was a decision I made.
Yeah.
And I know that not every family has that option because there's things like mortgages and um bills that have to be paid. And if you're fortunate enough to have a both parents still involved, one of them maybe could look at that option and then the other one could still continue to work. For me, I didn't have that. It was just me. And so what I did was, yeah, I cashed in the pension and lived off of it. So when I remember meeting you, feeling so very fearful to talk about money.
Yes.
Is this something that you experience regularly?
Well,
Is that normal for people?
it's completely normal. And I wanted to say that for my life, going into marriage, nobody gave you a little handbook on money when you earn your first paycheck. Doesn't come with instructions.
Right.
You never have a financial conversation. You might be sent a financial person that sells you a product, but nobody really sits down with you and says, this is how you and your partner should speak about money. This should be an open conversation every day. So until Daryl and I were leaving for Canada, we still didn't really have an open conversation about our finances. Like, he had his accounts, I had my accounts. That's okay. But there needs to be some common ground on where you're both headed, what you're doing, People live in la la land. We've come across a few people with not even an idea of their life insurance coverage. So life insurance being so important for a family with children that if something happened to one of the parents, there'd be money to cover for the family. They don't know what the coverage is. So I think there's a lot of families out there that just have a product and they think they're okay. But a lot of people don't know what's going on with the dotted line, the nitty-gritties, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. They just know they've got something. So I would say to every family, they need to, wherever they are, in whichever stage of life they are, get around us and just have a conversation and see if you are, just clued up on the things that are happening in Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
The life insurance, that's interesting. People think that, okay, well, I have life insurance, I'm covered. And then what kind of things have you seen? Like, can you share that with us? I mean, not a particular situation, but
No,
sort of
exactly.
overall.
The terrible financial holes are dug with the wrong life insurance, Lisa. Almost 80% of the wrong life insurance is sold every day. The type that is connected to investing, and people think they've invested in a retirement plan and they've bought a life insurance. So the best thing people can do is get around somebody like us that can look at their policy and explain it to them, because generally you buy an insurance policy that is sold to you. So you think you've bought something, but they haven't explained it to you from A to Z. So opening the policy and looking at what you have is so important, especially when you think that you've invested in your children's education, that's why you've bought this product, or you've invested in your retirement. Those should be two things that are never part of your life insurance. Your life insurance is in case one of you doesn't come home, one of the parents doesn't come home, and the income replacement happens from the life insurance. Life insurance is there to cover income, not to cover a child's education or your retirement. And those conversations are not had very often in Canada. People are just sold something and they're not 100% sure what they have. And because you don't have a life license, you don't even know how to read the policy. So that's why a life licensed person, one that is really only selling term life insurance, is the person you need to speak to.
Yes, I remember you telling me about term life insurance. So when we first sat down, and I was afraid to do a financial needs analysis with you because I knew I was in so much debt. I've shared this on my podcast before. I was in a situation where I had basically stopped answering the phone to any debtor that was calling me, just let it go to voicemail. And honestly, those phone calls would come in all day long. And maybe some of the listeners are experiencing that right now. It's very stressful. There's so much stress around it. Plus, you're dealing already with the fact that your child is not well. There's crisis, there's stress on you, the individual. And I remember you saying to me about the life insurance. Well, if something were to happen to you, would you have, you have debt? Who would it fall on responsibly? And I thought, oh my goodness, my daughter and possibly maybe even my father. I don't, because those, that's pretty much all that was left in my family, really.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I must get this life insurance at least to cover my debt so that isn't a burden that I leave with them in the end.
And Lisa, the response that your dad had when you did that was my best story. That was
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite. He was
What did
so
he say? I
grateful.
can't remember.
He was so grateful. He actually said, thank you, Lisa, for taking that responsibility. Like you said, my dad was so grateful that I hadn't left that to, be part of his problem.
Right.
And the debt part of life insurance, that's where people that are young and they've racked up the credit cards, if something happens to them, are their parents going to be able to even afford their funeral? So saying this to clients, never buy the funeral policy. That's the worst one you can have. The life insurance. Life insurance is the product that is the most affordable and the one that's going to do the job for you, that it's left to your beneficiaries. You can pay for a funeral out of your life insurance claim. So, that's where we really like to sit with families and go through those kind of questions and see the situation. There's a few things that, you can get caught up in not great products that are costing you at the end of the day. Just with mortgage insurance and things like that. So families that are in a crisis with their child in this situation, there's many areas that we can look at and we can help them. They may have certain areas that aren't doing well. Their investments might not be growing at the best rate of return. They might not have their investments in the right vehicle. There's so many opportunities we can show them what's available because people don't know what's available out there. And that's where having a person that is on the other side, that isn't involved in the emotions of the financial situation, that can see the rainbow clearly from that side, that the skies are clear and there's a place for you to go, not to be stuck in a hole and a loss of yourself, basically, when your child, you take it on yourself as a parent that you've done something wrong, or there's so much. It's even like losing a parent or losing someone in a death situation. Your brain is foggy. I would hate to know what your brain was doing at the time of that, Lisa. How can you think straight? You need some people to be your partner in your corner.
You honestly can't. And it sounds to me like you're offering more than just financial guidance. You're providing relief. You're providing kindness and compassion. So you bring up a really good point. When it comes to parents and dealing with our kids in these situations, enabling is a word that is really like at the forefront. We tend to enable our kids. We don't put the boundaries up. We don't we it's hard for us to say no. Um Mental illness, like specifically with what my daughter has, borderline personality disorder, it's very manipulative, and there can be lying, and it can be relentless to the point where you just eventually say yes just for a break. Like, how can that enabling affect a family financially, do you think?
The manipulation from the child is when they can see that they're getting everything from the parent, that they'll do this, their parent does that. They completely control the situation, right? So financial support is it unintentionally removes the responsibility or creates long-term dependence. If the child keeps seeing that they do this and then the parent is giving them the money, coming to their rescue, that is completely enabling them, that they're like, well, why do I have to do anything else? I'm getting all the things that I want just by crying wolf even, you don't want to say that, but that's where it eventually goes. So I encourage families to ask themselves, is this assistance helping someone move forward, or is it preventing them from becoming financially independent? And the financial independence, when a child can actually move on, as happened with you, Lisa, when you had to eventually step back and get your daughter her own place and say, this is your baby now.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I haven't really told this story. We were living in a rental unit, a whole house, myself and my daughter, with another friend and her two kids. And my daughter's crisis was so bad, it was affecting everybody. And I mean, this woman had two younger kids, teenage kind of young teenagers. And my daughter was just, and my roommate kept saying, well, things need to improve, things need to get better. And they weren't. And so she secretly, basically, without telling me, went off and found herself another rental and then let me know, yeah, we're moving out and we're not living here anymore. And I've already let the landlord know. So I was left in this whole unit with this massive rent that I couldn't afford because of all of the actions that my daughter had taken.
Yeah.
But I was still in that enabling stage of, well, she's my daughter and I've got to take care of her. And we're just going to ride it out. And I stayed in this I'm calling it an apartment. It was a house, just the two of us. And I only paid my half of the rent to the landlord because he didn't say anything to me about it. In the end, we ended up getting legal papers sent to us and we had to go to landlord tenant court and explain. And we were responsible for paying that unpaid half of the rent and essentially got evicted.
That's shocking.
And I said to my daughter, I said, well, so here's what's going to happen. I can't handle this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Your decisions, your actions, everything, like you're an adult and there's repercussions on me. And I'm no longer willing to handle them. I'm no longer willing to take them on as my own. So we're going to move out, both of us, and you're not coming with me. But I did it in a way where I was still supportive.
Yeah.
I still loved her. We found her a place to live, an apartment that she's still living in, and it's just down the street. So I was still able to go there. But the peace that I experienced energetically from being alone and not being with her anymore was profound. That is when I met you after that year, because that was 2019. And we met each other in 2020. And
2021, I think.
2021?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, anyway, when I met you, it was okay, let's rebuild this. Let's start living again. Because I think there's really stages when it comes to healing and being able to overcome traumas financially and
Yeah.
mentally and physically and spiritually.
Absolutely.
And I found that what you were offering me, even though I was resistant to it, in the end has changed everything. Because now look at where I am.
I know. And, Lisa, you just attended some of the financial events and things. We're very much a education company, and
Yes.
that's all we want is not even, no more products on your dashboard for you. It's just you to learn, you to know where we're going. And sometimes the most compassionate gift you as the parent isn't writing another check, isn't getting them out of the hole. It's helping someone create a budget, learn financial skills, and build a plan that leads to financial independence or just independence away from you. And I think that's what you did for her, getting her into her own place. You enabled her with new skills, and that's better than anybody. Like they say, give somebody a fish and they eat for a day, teach them how to fish and they eat forever. That's exactly
Ah,
that.
I love that
Yeah.
one. It's so true. And yeah, the education piece is something that like you said in the very beginning, Canadians really don't get that. We don't get that at school. We don't get that really from work. They just take from our paycheck and put it into a fund that we just get a statement around and we don't really have so much control over.
Correct. I mean, that's the amount of things that we don't learn and we just get pushed into the direction of it. That's what blew me away, getting licenses in Canada after being a qualified teacher and then coming here and actually getting financial licenses. The education I got that I could help my husband, I just love that I could go and say, do you know this? Do you know that? Women being enabled financially, generally, we're the ones that live longer. I would just say to every lady, get around the people that know the ways of the world in the way to put you in a better place. Not just walking into your bank and seeing a big sign on the wall or watching a commercial on TV. Those aren't places that are educating you. You're really, really doing your family such a favor by learning financial concepts that can help all of you. Getting youngsters of 18, 19 to understand what's going to happen to them down the road. Get it going now when you're 18. Get it going when you're 22 in your first job, that your paycheck is an understanding of instructions, not, oh, I left that too late. And you haven't left it too late. Anybody out there can learn financial information from a good source, not from the commercials. They really aren't the best place.
So, what do you think is a long-term cost of avoidance?
Not facing your financial situation is long-term devastation. If you don't nip it in the bud and start putting yourself first and getting your ducks in a row, getting out of debt, starting to invest a small amount, but just getting your investments back on track, reviewing your insurance, knowing that you've got the right product, that it's going to do what you need it to do, updating your will. How many people in Canada don't have a will? And people with young children, the government takes your kids if there's no will to say that Uncle Ben's taking the kids if something happens. Adjusting your financial plan. The financial plan has to change. If your life changes, your financial plan will have to change. Did you have a financial plan to start? Most people don't. They failed to plan, but they didn't mean to, because other priorities came first before the financial plan. So just knowing your options and understanding what is available to you. Most people don't know that there's a variety of fabulous things out there. Like I said again, the things that are in your face most of the time are not always the right things.
Right.
Companies paying for commercials.
Yeah. Companies paying for commercials. Yeah, that's their marketing plan.
Yeah. And Primerica doesn't advertise. We word of mouth. And that's one of the biggest things, is that we're not taking money out of the client's pocket.
One of the things that I learned from you was about the rule of 72. Can you explain that a little bit? Don't go into too much detail because we don't want to bore everybody, but it's really important, I think, for people to know this.
It's really important. I love my visuals because I'm a teacher, Lisa, but I'll do it without. It's basically dividing the rate of return you're getting on your money into the number 72. So if you're getting a 6% rate of return, divide it into 72. 6 into 72 is 12. Your money's going to double every 12 years. If you're only getting 1% on your money, 1 into 72 is 72. Your money's going to double in 72 years. That's not good.
No.
So the higher your rate of return, divided into the number 72, the more your money's doubling. But it can work against you as well. If you are paying a credit card or something like that and you don't pay the balance off every month, the banks are making 21% off you. So the rule of 72 on 21 into 72, the bank's making that money now. That is
right.
Gajillions of money. That's why they have big sky rises down in Toronto. The banks own all of those from all the money they're making off the clients.
Yeah, credit card debt is the worst. But as a family going through crisis, that might be the only way to make things work.
Yeah.
Is going into debt. How do they rebuild from that? Or how do they stop the madness, stop that sort of behavior?
Lisa, for them just to take one small step, not change everything, and just have a look at where they are and get a budget and actually look at the budget and where the money's going. Because a lot of people are spending money in ridiculous places that they could actually cut back on that, and put that towards the credit cards. Stop spending on the credit card when it's got a little bit dire, trying to live on what they've got rather than creating more debt. But the budget, rebuilding an emergency fund, that was the worst thing in COVID, Families didn't have 3 months invested, saved, that they could pay themselves when there was no paycheck coming in. So this would be the similar time. When there's an emergency, you need some, emergency funds built up that you've got something to delve into, and not to touch your investments, the RSPs and TFSAs, keep them going.
Yeah, that's super good advice. I noticed this year, we all follow social media, and there was quite a few Instagram accounts. I don't know if you noticed this too or not, being in finances, where the family said, that's it, we're $250,000 in debt and no longer. And what they started with was that budget. Let's get it all down on paper. Let's take a look at the facts. It's kind of like the concept of turning the lens inward, right? What I tell people is, like, you have to first know what's going on, what the truth is, what your mind is saying, what that computer program is. And it's the same thing with this financial situation. What is it? Because if you're not aware, you're continuing the avoidance. And I saw a lot of people pay off a lot of debt quickly by stopping going out for dinner. Like using the credit cards,
Just the Amazons, Temus, Sheins, you can just name them like this. That is so, it's almost evil the way those companies have started preying on families and the youngsters, that spin that wheel again with Temu, and you're getting another discount, you actually get caught in it. And people that are retired, they've got nothing to do, they're sitting around. Everybody is being affected by that, Lisa. And if you can actually stop yourself and say, why on earth am I paying those companies for stuff I don't need, really? Do I need it? Pay myself first. Take that money and put it back in our pockets.
Yes. And the thing, I think, where people spiral out, especially if you're dealing with all these problems at home and all these problems with your kids, is we want to escape.
Yes.
And we tell ourselves, and I certainly did this, that I deserve to have this break, or I deserve to go out for dinner, or I deserve to go away on this vacation, and then create more debt. I mean, I know you're not an expert in psychology or anything like that, but would you have any financial advice as to how to deal with that type of situation? Those things that we tell ourselves?
So a really good book is The Psychology of Money.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, if you give that a read and understand your emotions are completely tied, like the dopamine rush people are getting, that's where people are sometimes lacking. Dopamine is like my daughter's ADHD, and that's what I had to stop as well, was like, please, no more spending. You've got to actually ask yourself tomorrow if you still want that. The day you want it, you've got to do it tomorrow. So you give yourself some time to think
It's a
about,
great practice.
to give yourself time to think about the purchase. So, and also one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that financial planning isn't really about money. That sounds strange. It's about giving family choices during life's most difficult moments. And the financial plan will, it's full of options. We can't always control what happens, but we can prepare and we can reduce the stress by being prepared. So my advice to people is, if you are in a situation now, but you can help somebody else, not be there, just to prepare financially. People to, just get their ducks in a row and think about the choices they're making. Reduce the stress, protect the people we love, and give ourselves the confidence to face whatever comes. And go on a journey with a family that there's hope. The hope that by changing your actions, changing your reactions, you can actually get on a financial journey, just one small step at a time, that changes your retirement and your journey of money down the road.
Yeah, I can feel the stress lifting from my body just talking about it.
Yeah.
So when you're in a situation like this with your kid, and it's like there's so much added stress on top of regular life, to take control of your finances would be very empowering.
Absolutely.
In that situation. And I think this is a beautiful gift that you must love what you do. And I love what you do. And I'm starting to learn more and more and more. I took my life insurance course myself because I saw such value in being able to help families in so many different ways. And what you were talking about earlier about the products not being good and not knowing that it's a dog eat dog world, and we are the ones in control of our future.
Absolutely.
And to let somebody else have that control, why?
Yeah. I'm so proud of you, Lisa. The fact that you came along and you got those licenses, I think you're going to make such a difference. You've got so many families that you touch every day as well. And the journey that you've been on and where you out the other side, you have, really, you've blown all of us away that you've come through what you've come through. And with such open, honest podcast stories, we love them. So I
Thank
really
you.
do appreciate that you gave me a seat today. But if we can help anybody, that they are
Yes.
not caught in that bad environment and that everything that can happen to them going forward is 100% right for them, that's amazing.
Yeah. What you're doing is truly beautiful work. And I know because I've known you for so long and I've seen it happen in my own life, the improvement just from having this one conversation. So, everybody who's listening to this, they need to talk to Jeanette. Put it in the comments. I want to talk to Jeanette. She'll do a financial assessment for you. Financial needs analysis. It's completely free. Um, and in the end, it's going to be more peace of mind for you, and good for you for caring about people so much. Because I'm sure there's lots and lots of things you could also be doing to make more money, but not necessarily help the best way. Because there's lots of people out there doing that, but you're not doing that. So good for you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you like? We need to talk about this. There's one more thing.
Lisa, I think it's just a financial education, that every family should have one person in the family that knows the buzz, that people can stop getting, you're not allowed to say screwed, but
Do whatever you want.
that's what's happening out there in the world today, is that people are getting taken advantage of so badly. So if somebody in the family sat with us and learned the concepts and just got the financial education for their family, they will save them millions and millions and millions of dollars down the road. Having
Right.
our children, our daughters come to these events and listen to what we've been taught, they're prepared for life. We need prepared financial people that you can stop being taken advantage of. That would be my message today.
Wonderful. Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeanette.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Okay. So tune in to the next episode. But for now, we're saying have a great day.